Welcome back to the Samantha Show. I'm your host, Samantha, or you can call me Sam. Hopefully, we know by now, just don't call me Sammy. I really hate that. I really hate that nickname. What's up today? I've got some fun stories to share with you, a lot that I want to tell you. But first, before we get into it, we're going to do 3 things that you need to know. Item number 1. It is okay to have Starbucks remake your drink if they did not make it correctly. I don't know if there's anybody out there like me. I don't love confrontation when it comes to things like sending my drink back and having them remake it. But I'll tell you what, with the prices that Starbucks is charging for your drinks, you deserve to have it made how you would like it made, okay? And look, this happens to me all the time. My go-to drink is a grande cold brew, sugar-free vanilla, splash of heavy cream. And people sometimes get confused with what a splash of heavy cream is, all right? It's a splash. It's like, and then we're done, right? It's not a pour. It's not even like a full tablespoon. It's just a splash on the side. And when the drink comes and it looks like milk, we've gone beyond a splash at this point in time. And I never like sending it back. But the other day I decided I'm paid for this. I'm a polite person. You have to be nice. Be nice, okay? And it's okay. And it'll be okay. I did that the other day and I was like shaking. I was so nervous to send my drink back. Like I didn't want to upset anyone. I didn't want this barista to feel like she didn't do a good job. I just wanted less cream in my coffee. And I sent it back and she remade it and she was so kind and it was fine. And it was like, okay. Look, we are living in a day and age where life is expensive. Things are expensive. So if we're paying for a product or a service and we have a level of expectation or something that we ask for, we deserve to get that. It's okay to send your drink back if they didn't make it correctly. Item number 2 of things that you need to know. You're allowed to feel your feelings. What I mean by that is I live with type 1 diabetes and often I will get discouraged or frustrated or sad or angry about having to deal with this disease. And then for a long time and many times I'll tell myself, well, at least it's not cancer, or at least it's not this, or at least I can still move my body, et cetera, et cetera. And I forget who told me this, and I'm sorry I can't remember who, but it was a friend or someone had said, you're allowed to feel how you feel. It was probably my mom. You're allowed to feel how you feel. You're allowed to feel upset about this. You're allowed to feel discouraged. So whether you're living with type 1 diabetes or whatever it is, however big or small, the situations that you face in life, you are allowed to feel how you want to feel about that. You don't have to compare what you're going through to someone else. It's your life. It's your experience. It's your inconvenience. And you can feel those feelings and you can be okay with whatever that may be and process that however you need to. Permission granted. Item number 3 that you need to know. Waving at a stranger will boost your mood. Try it. Report back. My goal for you today is to wave at 3 strangers. See what happens. You're going to feel so good about it. Even if they look at you like you're crazy. Hey, do like the Forrest Gump wave. Hey, it'll put you in a better mood. My favorite time to wave, I was thinking about this the other day, is when train is coming or going. If there's a train coming and you wave, or if you're on the train and you're waving at somebody on the ground. There's a park in my area and they just installed this new full-size train. So my husband and daughter and I were on it and we were riding and there was a lady probably 2 football fields away. And when I tell you I did the Forrest Gump wave, like everything in my soul, power, body was to get this woman to wave back at me. And I just went crazy wave. She waved back at me and my day was made. Waving at strangers makes you feel good. Do it today. Those are the 3 things that you need to know. You can send your Starbucks order back if it's not made correctly. You can feel your feelings, whatever that may be. Waving will boost your mood. Try it. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about my favorite quote of all time. My favorite quote of all time is this: if you quit when you're told no, it was never your dream to begin with. Simon Cowell said that on the X Factor. I'm a big X Factor fan. Man, every time they hit the golden buzzer, I cry. That's not the point here. If you quit when you're told no, it was never your dream to begin with. And I think I resonate with this quote so much because of my history with CycleBar and my trajectory and my growth within this company. And so today I wanted to share that story of my growth and what that looked like and the time and the effort that I had to put in. And I'm not sharing this story to brag by any means. I want to share the ups and downs, and I want to share the amount of work that I really did have to do to make that happen. If you work for CycleBar and you're an instructor, and I believe a lot of the people who listen to this podcast are, a lot of this will make sense to you and you'll resonate with it. And I hope it encourages and inspires you. But I also hope that anybody who's listening, maybe CycleBar is not your trajectory, but something else is in life and you have another goal or something you're working toward. I hope that you'll still find nuggets of inspiration or ideas or motivation that inspire you to keep going and working hard to achieve whatever it is that you're after. So I auditioned to become a CycleBar instructor in the summer of 2017. And I originally had contacted the studio owners. There was a new CycleBar coming to town, and I contacted them to be a studio manager. My original goal was not to be an instructor. I was just interested in being a GM or studio manager, whatever they needed. And they didn't need that position filled at that time. So they encouraged me to audition to become an instructor. So I went about taking the next steps to do this audition. And at CycleBar, you have to ride to the beat of the music and all the things. And I was very into working out. I was very into indoor cycling. I had already been doing indoor cycling for 3 or 4 years at other studios and classes in our area, but never rhythm-based. And so when I went to audition, I felt really good about my audition. I mean, I came home, my mom was babysitting my daughter, watching my daughter, and she said, "How'd you do?" And I was like, "Oh, I crushed it. I crushed it. They'd be crazy not to hire me." Like, I was feeling so good about it. And I got the results about 2 weeks later, and I didn't pass. Oh, my soul was crushed. And so I was pretty upset. I sulked for a day or two. And then my dad reminded me of Lindsay Sterling, who was on maybe Britain's Got Talent. Apparently I like my talent shows. And the judges had told Lindsay Sterling that she would never be able to play the violin and dance around and be successful. Well, now Lindsay Sterling sells out arenas doing what it is that she loves. And that story that my dad shared with me just really stuck with me. And I had decided, after I'd kind of let my emotions go, like in that moment, I decided I was going to be a master instructor for CycleBar. I had not even passed the audition. And I was like, I got a no passing result. And I was like, awesome, I'm going to be a master instructor. But that's not far from the truth of how my mind process went. I was ready to go back again, to work and do whatever I made up my mind, whatever I had to do to pass, to work my way up as high as I could into CycleBar, was made the day after I got my non-passing audition results. That's when I made up my mind. And I think whenever you set out on a goal or you want to do something, like, you have to decide if you're going to do it, period. You got to make up a decision whether or not you're going to do it. And I had decided I was going to do it. So I practiced. The studio owner gave me a bike to keep at my house to practice. It was very generous. And I rode about 3 to 4 hours a day for 3 weeks. That is not an exaggeration. I am not stretching the truth. I would wake up. I was working from home at the time. I would wake up in the morning and I would ride for about an hour, hour and a half, and I would just practice riding to the beat, to the beat, to the beat. And then over my lunch break, I'd get back on the bike and I would practice riding to the beat, to the beat, to the beat. And then again, same thing in the evening. I rode my face off because I was going to guarantee with everything in my ability that I would pass my second audition. So I didn't just practice occasionally, like I poured my heart and soul into making sure that I did what I had to pass that next audition. And I passed it. I did. Still had a ways to go with form and all the other things, but I did it. Crossed that first bridge. And really that kind of lit my fire. And I was like, okay, Samantha, you said you were going to do this. You can do this. And so I continued to work for CycleBar and when our studio opened. And part of that trajectory and that growth for me was to continue to get better. My mindset as it relates to CycleBar and my job is get better at this job every single day. And so that really started right after I passed my audition, got into boot camp, got through boot camp, which was like a 4-day, 8 hours a day, riding the bike type deal. Once I got in and I started teaching, I made it my point to come early before classes and ride as much as I could. I showed up early before classes. I practiced. When the studio was open and no one was in there, I would go in, I would continue to practice. Even though I was already an instructor, I knew my goal was way beyond just being an instructor. I wanted to be a master instructor. Here I am, small town, Dayton, Ohio. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna be a master instructor. I'm gonna practice and ride my bike as much as I can, and I'm gonna make sure that the people in LA know who I am. So, but I did. I practiced so much. I rode my bike so much. I would record myself. I would watch it back. I would record myself. I'd watch it back. I would go on. I would check out the master instructors. I would watch their videos. I would watch myself. How can I adjust my form? How can I change it? I spent so much time studying myself, listening to my voice. How can I change my voice? How can I drop it? How can I make it less annoying? Might still be annoying. But it was a development process for me, and I really had to put in the time. I remember watching Michael Jordan speak on maybe a documentary, and he said, all you've seen is me win games. But he said, you didn't see me wake up at 4 a.m. every single day, working on my shots, lifting, weights, doing all the things. Like, we didn't see the hustle from the outside. We only saw Michael Jordan win again and again and again, right? But big goals, big dreams, big things, they take hard work, and you have to be willing to put in the work. So I did that. I was putting in the work, man. I was putting in the work. You also, too, have to quiet the noise. So I remember when I first started and we were getting CycleBar up and rolling in my community, look, there was drama. There was drama on the team. I'll be honest about that. And I was so focused on pushing myself forward that it kind of became the Samantha show. No pun intended. It kind of became the Samantha show at my studio, but not in a way that I think was bad. I volunteered my time to go out to events because I wanted to recruit people to my classes. I paid out of my own pocket for social media ads to promote my classes. I rode with other people. I was at the studio all the time. I was constantly in my owner's ears, my studio owner's ears. What can I do? How can I help? How can I get involved? I just fell that passionately in love with CycleBar that it caused a little bit of drama with the rest of the team because it was like, oh, it's the Samantha show. And I think you're always going to face people in life who are going to try to prevent you from moving forward or slow you down. And so I had an option during that time to get wrapped up in the drama and engage, or to continue to focus on what my goals were. My goals were to grow myself, to grow my classes, to grow within CycleBar. And I wanted to be a leader at my studio as well. And so I really focused on that. I tried to be kind to everyone while continuing the hustle. And that means sometimes you have to quiet the noise. You cannot engage with the drama, with the noise, with the haters, if that's what you want to call them. And when you're working toward a goal, you're going to face setbacks like that, or you're going to face roadblocks like that, and you get to decide how you respond. And for me, when I faced that, and this was very early on, when I faced that, for me, it was just about rising above. It was rise above the noise and the drama and focus on you and the goals and what it is you wanted to see at the studio on a bigger level. And so I did that, and the moment came and went, and everything ended up okay. But when you're working towards something, you're going to face people who want to kind of bring you down or slow you down, and you have to decide how you're going to choose. You can let them take your energy, or you can just continue the hustle. So my hustle continued for a while, right? And the other thing I believe with goals, especially when it comes to career, is you got to make sure the right people know who you are and know your name. With any job, with any goal or sport or whatever it is you're after, like you got to make sure the right people know who you are. So it was very important to me with CycleBar. CycleBar has these events. They're now called Camp CycleBar, and it's where instructors get to come together and train as a group from all over the country, and you get to train with these master instructors. I made it my point to go to as many Camp CycleBars as I could because I wanted to make sure the right people knew me. Funny story, when I went to Camp CycleBar in Santa Monica in January of 2019, it was the first time I got to be in the presence of Tevia Selly. She's the vice president of experience with CycleBar. And I was so nervous. I never even said hi. Like maybe hi and kept walking, but I didn't stop and introduce myself and say hello. Man, I got on the plane on the way home from Santa Monica and I was like kicking myself like, Samantha, if this is something you want, you got to be bold enough and confident enough to go up and say hello and make sure these people know you. And then I was like, well, looks like I'm going to have to go to another camp because I got to go meet Tevia. So it's important that you know that. And I did. And I ended up doing 3 camps total, 1 special camp for lead instructors. And it was important to me that I got to know these master instructors, not kiss ass. Let's separate the two here. But to show my commitment to our brand, to our company, I wanted to make sure that they knew how committed I was to what we do. I also let them know I wanted to be a master instructor. Like I spoke it to them. I said, look, I understand I have work to do, but I want to be a master instructor one day. So I wanted to make sure I was in front of the right people and they knew my goals within CycleBar. I think too often we're like afraid to speak out loud what it is that we want, what it is that we're after. You got to say it out loud. You got to tell people what it is that you want. You got to say your goals out loud. That's how we manifest it. You can't hold that in. Tell people what it is you want. What are you working toward? Let it be known so then people can support you or they can keep you on their radar. I'll never forget the day that Karen Maxwell, K-Max, our director of training said, I got you on my radar. Ooh, that was enough for me. I was like, got it. I'm going to hustle. So you got to let people know what it is that you want to do, what your goals are. You got to speak it out loud. Here's one thing, whether you're with CycleBar and you got goals, whatever field that you're in, ego will be the death of your success. That doesn't mean you can't be confident. In fact, you should be confident. You have to believe that you can do what it takes. But ego and not being open to growth, to feedback, to learning, to adjusting will stop you in your tracks when it comes to your growth and your success. And I think that one thing specifically in this field and with fitness that comes up a lot is ego. And that's a dangerous place to be. Working in fitness is all about building trust with our riders, with our teammates. And when you have ego, you're limiting yourself to that growth and that feedback and that knowledge just to continue to expand and get better and better. And although I've always been very confident in who I am and what it is that I'm after. And I always believe in myself. I'm like, yeah, I could do that. Clearly, I didn't pass an audition. I was like, yeah, I'm going to be a master instructor. But that confidence took me a long way. But I was also very open to that growth, to that learning, because I knew that if I wanted to work my way up, I had a lot of work to do. And I needed coaching and I needed support and I needed guidance and I needed to be open to whatever that feedback may be to get me there. And so be careful. Check your ego, because once we start to get confident, once we start to make that momentum in whatever it is that we're after, your ego is like, the devil on the shoulder, right? Because you have to be open and you have to be willing to learn and to get better. So check your ego. You got to keep going even when you get discouraged and even when it gets hard. After I had kind of been on this track to try to become a master instructor for a couple of years, I quit my full-time job. I was all in with CycleBar. I quit my full-time job in December of 2018, and my goal was to become a master instructor in January 2019. That was my New Year's resolution, which I never tell anybody my New Year's resolution, but now that it's come and gone, I can share that. So that was my goal for 2019, and I felt like I was making good progress toward that. Had a lot of good communication with the education department at CycleBar. But I also knew that we have like 3,000 instructors around the country and there are phenomenal people who are just as eligible, if not more, for this position and this title than me. And so I understood that, and I understood that I was going to have to continue to hustle. And as a couple months went by, I watched some people get promoted, and I also knew that there's only a handful of master instructors in CycleBar. So the odds, given how many instructors there are around the country, it's tough. It's a tough bridge to cross into kind of that next level. I watched a couple people get promoted, and I was like, okay, a little discouraged because I thought I was up next, in my mind. I was like, I got to be like high on their list for consideration. And I would watch other people get promoted, and it weighed on me a little bit, But how you react too for your peers when they meet their goals and they crush it speaks a lot about your character. And I always try to keep that in mind too, right? Like if you pull back or you react in a negative way, what's that going to say about who you are as a supporter and a coach and a leader, right? You got to stand up and clap for the other people who win, the other people who reach their goals, because they deserve it too, right? So you got to clap for other people and cheer them on and keep up your hustle. You can't give up. And I'll never forget, I really thought it was my time. I really thought it was my time. I was like, man, next time they promote somebody, it's got to be me. Like, I just feel it in my soul. It's got to be, right? And I was like praying for it. And I was continuing to work and continuing to try to do my best work possible for my studio. And I remember one of my teammates got promoted, and I was happy for her. I was. And I think that's almost what crushed me more, because I knew how deserving she was. She deserved it. And I struggled, though, then with my confidence, because I was like, dang, Samantha, like, there are a lot of really good people out there. Is this ever going to happen for me? And that was hard to accept. And this was like in November at this point in time. Remember, my goal was 2019, and it was November of 2019. And I was like, I don't know anymore. I get a little emotional when I think about this moment. I felt like I had worked so hard and I had given so much to make this happen. I mean, I had poured my heart and soul into it, and I was ready to quit. I was ready to give up. And I was like, you know what? The odds are not good enough, because there's so many incredible people in this brand, that I remember thinking, why me? Why me? Why should I get this? There's so many other people that really deserve this. And so I shared this with my husband, who is a man of few words, especially when it comes to encouragement and support and motivation. And I said, you know what, Joe, I think I need to give up on this goal and this dream. I just don't think it's going to happen for me, because I thought it was going to happen and then it didn't. And so I was ready to quit. And that was a really low moment for me within my career with CycleBar. And I remember the man of no words, of few words, he looked at me and he said, you have given so much of your time and energy to reach this goal, and you are so close. Why would you quit? And he said, the least you could do is wait through the end of the year. You got a month and a half left to the end of 2019. At least take it to the end of the year. And 2 weeks later, I became a master instructor. I was having a conversation with a former teammate. It shared with me, it's when it feels like you've gone as far as you can go, that you can't possibly take the next step. When you're almost there and it's not happening, that's when it happens. That's when it happens. And it was true for me in that moment, because I had kind of reached the low point where I felt like I didn't have anything left to give to make it happen. The only thing at that point in time, and thank goodness that Joe reminded me, was patience. Because when you're working towards your goals and your dreams, you're going to hustle. You got to check your ego. You got to quiet the noise. You got to quiet the drama. You got to keep showing up. And you got to be patient. You got to be patient because dreams and goals and careers and growth, they do not happen overnight, especially not the big ones, the important ones, the ones that mean the most. And patience, for me and my journey and my experience, has been the hardest piece of all of it. I can show up, I can hustle, I can work hard, I can grind, but being patient, that's a tough one. And that is often one that I think discourages people and throws them off course and causes them to tap out too soon. I've got more goals, more dreams, and more hopes, and I'm going to continue to show up both in my career with CycleBar, with my side hobbies, with my hustles. And I try to take lessons out of my own book because I truly feel like my journey with CycleBar taught me a lot about perseverance, hustle, quieting the noise, cheering for other people. I learned a lot about how to be happy for other people. And that's hard when someone gets or receives something that you really want too. But it's important, and it builds your character, and it makes you a better person. I believe that. And I learned a lot about patience. Whatever it is you're after, I hope that you felt some kind of connection or were able to take something out of this, what other step or phase you're in, whether you're just embarking on a new goal, whether you're checking your ego, whether you're dealing with the haters and the drama, or whether, you've reached that point and you've come a long way, but it just doesn't feel like it's happening and you're ready to quit. Don't quit when you're so close, when you've already come so far. Don't quit when you don't pass the audition, when you're told no, because if you quit when you're told no, when you're told it's not your time, not you right now, if you quit then, it was never your dream to begin with. Tune in next week. I got a special guest on. We're going to have a good time. Have a great day. You deserve it.